something like this.
All right, so I usually start with ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I had a wonderful time working with a little company called the Walt Disney Company in the beginning of my career. Did anybody work in any other industry other than law enforcement before they became law enforcement? Anybody? You did. You did. Got a couple folks here. That's great. Outstanding. Don't ever be afraid of pulling that out of the hat when it's time for you to talk to corporations, because that's going to be important to you, and it worked well for me. I'm a prior deputy sheriff of Seminole County Sheriff's Office in Florida, and then for a couple of years, and I realized that the corporate world really was for me. And not because I was bad at what I was doing. My mom said I was too good. I was getting too much trouble. So I was one of the few guys in my police academy that received a community service award when I graduated, and at the same token, about 10 minutes later, I got the defensive tactics award. So I like to be out in the community, but I have absolutely no problem going after the bad guy. What happened with that is that I was going after too many bad guys, too often, causing a lot of mistakes and issues for the county. So I said, I'll just become a reservist. And I went back to Disney because, Disney, all I had to do was smile and bring my best white glove service that I could possibly be. And I knew exactly, see, y'all are more intelligent than I am. I knew exactly what the hell the guests needed. Anybody's ever been to Walt Disney World? Okay, there's a good chance I knew what you needed. Like we messed up on your tickets. We messed up in your hotel room. It was very easy for us to do what we used to do at Disney. If you drop an ice cream, we're going to give you 2. So it's easy for me to go, oh, man, your room was bad there, Bill. Sorry about that. How about we upgrade you, man? There's this nice VIP room right up top, and I'm going to hook up your family. As a matter of fact, you don't like waiting in lines at the rides, do you? No, hell no. Who wants to do that? Let's get you right in line, man. Here's some passes. We can do that. In the cop world, imagine doing that to the bad guy or the bad guy's family that comes out on a hot call, right? Because the whole hood comes out. At least Seminole County they did. I used to work in the little Sanford area. We had a little issue with a 16-year-old wearing a hoodie not long ago, if you look at Sanford. Anyway, so with that being said, I just realized that I wasn't intelligent enough to continue being a cop. I couldn't do it. I was very matter of fact. I was born in Brazil. My dad is a cokehead. So my dad started with pain meds because he got stuck in between 2 containers at the port. So it starts with pain meds, right? We all seen this. We all got calls where you go and you talk to a mom or a dad that their kid has been doing pain meds forever, stealing everything from the house, pawning it in multiple counties, which now sucks because now you got to work with other counties. Anyways, so you got to do all these things, right? So same thing with my dad. My mom divorced my dad when I was 2. We lived by ourselves. She adopted a kid. There was 4 of us. A total of 7 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. We moved to New Jersey. So if you hear my accent, by the way, if you give me some more beers later on, the accent really comes out like super bad. Either I'm upset or happy. And my wife usually says, don't bring the freaking Jersey out. Don't do it. And that's how it usually works in my household. And by the way, I'm never right. She's always right. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to say tonight that I might not be right within your thoughts and what you're thinking. But I'm going to challenge you after this. If there's something that I say that you go, yeah, no, I don't think so, that's perfectly fine. I hit about 90% with my wife every time she's right. 10% I get a little bit. So here's the deal. I grew up in a bad situation. 7 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. There was a police officer, which I just re-met once again, Fairview Police Department in New Jersey, which was hilarious because doing something like this, the State of New Jersey Police Benevolence Association president, I said, hey, Officer Frank Del Vecchio, Fairview, was one of the guys when I was 12 years of age, when I was on the streets doing a lot of dumb shit. Crisscross was out at that time, so yes, I had backwards jeans and super baggy damn Florida Marlins shirts with the backwards Florida Marlins shirts where my number was in the front. Frank Del Vecchio, so I'm talking to him, and he goes, Frank Del Vecchio? Do you know that he became the chief? I said, you got to be kidding. You talk to Frank? He goes, hell yeah, I talk to Frank. I might cuss, by the way, every once in a while. My wife is okay with that. So are my kids. I hope you're okay with that as well. So and because I get that excited. So I said, no, there's no fucking way on this earth you know Frank Del Vecchio. He was also my baseball coach at the time. I just got into Babe Ruth because I was born in July, and god dang, I had to play Babe Ruth at 12 years of age because I just missed it by like 6 days. I was born July 6th. You have to, anyways. So he says, yeah, I know Frank. He's a good buddy of mine. I'll call him right now. He calls him. I send him the link to the Zoom meeting they were in, and in front of me, it was the guy that at 12 years of age got me out of doing a bunch of dumb shit when my mom was the sole provider of the house, having 3 different jobs. She used to fill donuts at 4 o'clock in the morning. My mom is a PhD educator in Brazil. In America, she came to clean people's houses at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then at 7 o'clock at night, she worked for Domino's Pizza. Because at 10 to 11 o'clock at night, she would take on all of the pizzas that was left over and take them home in our freezer. I used to hate pizzas for a very long time because that's what we had available to eat. God dang, I love pizzas now, and it's like one of the most delicious things. My wife hates it because I obviously don't eat it, and she knows that. She knows that. So I came from a real tough place, and that's how I came to be the Popo. That's how I came to be and work in my criminal justice degree from the great University of Central Florida. By the way, the largest university in the country. Nobody knew. Knights, the 2017 national champions. It was not Alabama. And if you look at NCAA football for 2017 national champions, you're going to see an asterisk next to Alabama and the University of Central Florida, because we were the first 6 school that won the national championship along with Alabama. So that's kind of like my background story. Worked for Seminole County, which was a dream of mine. I started with the Walt Disney Company, and I worked with a bunch of cops. So while at the Walt Disney Company, I did undercover work for them in investigations, which comprised of credit card fraud, counterfeit bills, internal, external theft, counterfeit FBI back there, Secret Service. Anybody see? I thought some feds might have been here. Perfect. Got to work closely with the FBI on some different cases. Got to work closely with the Secret Service on some counterfeit money. By the way, the Walt Disney Company is the number 1 place to pass counterfeit bills in America. Number 1 place, because it's easy to pass $100 bills. That's what you want to do, so you get the most amount back. That's the beauty about it. So got to do all of those. Got to do sex crimes. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. What I realized in working with all those cops that I really had this dream of being a cop. That's the reason why I went to school for criminal justice. That's the reason why I wanted to do it. That's what I did. I stayed with the Disney Company, what they call part-time, which was really fun because I was able to play cop full-time. And then part-time, I was supervisor of security for the Wild World of Sports. And the Wild World of Sports is really fun because we had to work with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got to work with, the Atlanta Braves came by. Orlando City Soccer, MLS, came by. So I got to work with a bunch of cool spots. That's how I got to Super Bowl 50. I got a call one day. LinkedIn. Message number 1. If you don't have your LinkedIn ready and prepared and ready to go with everything that you possibly need, including a wonderful picture of yourself with a great smile and having fun, and I swear to Christ Almighty, please, Lord Jesus, and I'm Catholic, so I don't even do that kind of stuff. Do not take a picture with the American flag with your freaking pin and put it on LinkedIn. You may agree or disagree, and that's perfectly fine with me. What I'm telling you is that I hire people often, every single day. And I'll get to what I did today here in a little bit. LinkedIn, get it ready. Make sure it's open for recruiters. You have to go into background and preferences, and you make sure you open it for recruiters. Because if recruiters doesn't know, they don't know. It's just like today, if your boss don't know that you want to do something bigger than what you're doing today, your boss can't help you. So you cannot be shy. Something that we cops are very good at are being shy. We don't really talk about ourselves. We don't know how to sell ourselves. We're here for the public, and we're here for my brothers and sisters around me, but it has nothing to do with me. Well, in the corporate world, it's a little bit different, and you can't be afraid to do those things. So, going back to LinkedIn, make sure you have a great picture, smiling picture, make sure you're having fun, make sure you have a great background picture on there, make sure your resume is fully on there, make sure your resume matches what your resume looks like on LinkedIn. Don't be a rock star in your resume and you're like a bench player in your LinkedIn? Because we'll look at both, right? So prepare those things. There's a lot of folks out there that will take the time and look at your LinkedIn and help you with those little minute things to help you out, okay? So that's LinkedIn. Due to LinkedIn, I got the job. So they called me for California's Great America, and they said, and I was a cop still, by the way. I was a reservist now at this time. And they said, hey, look, man, it looks like you've done some stuff with sports and you're now big people. At the time, I was also the manager of Disney's Hollywood Studios. I was in charge of all of Disney's Hollywood Studios. So 45,000 people a day, 45,000 people event every single day. So I said, because of my LinkedIn, they called me and said, we have this thing, it's California's Great America. It has a park, water park, events hall, Levi Stadium with Super Bowl 50 is coming. Would you be interested? It's like, shit, you should have started with Super Bowl 50. That sounds pretty fair to me. So that's how I got to that side of town. Moved to California. From California, I learned this thing about the tech industry. There are different types of companies in this world, and now I'm going to kick into chapter 1 of the book. There are different things that you have to think about when you're thinking about your next career. One of them is family. Your family has gone through a lot of shit with you for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years. I don't know how long y'all been around. But they've been through a lot of shit with you. And we all joke, I know we used to do in Florida, like if you're not at least in your second marriage, you didn't have a plentiful career in law enforcement. Like something happened, you just weren't good at what you were doing. Anyways, so some people are very lucky at that and only had one, and God bless you for that. And you should go home and kiss and hug your loved one because they're freaking amazing at putting up with all the crap that we have to put up with, especially this group. And that's the reason why I came out here today. So, you're going to bring your family through a whole other piece of learning. And it's an uphill learning scale. Depends how fast you learn. But law enforcement is not corporate security. And I'm going to be saying that a heck of a lot, a whole bunch of times. Law enforcement is not corporate security. So there's this learning curve. So what you're going to do, you're going to come home, you're going to be really pissed off at yourself, and you're going to be pissed off at your family. And now you're retired. Remember, you're retired. But now you got this new gig, and you're going to be pissed off. Your family's going to hate you because you're going to come in pissed off every day because you have to learn something. Your boss said something that you didn't understand. Your junior partner that is 25 years of age but happens to be in charge of cybersecurity is above you in the, let's call this corporate security chain of command, and you're not comfortable with that because you just don't know what that is. I can't tell you how many meetings I go into. The company that I work for, the largest social media company in the world. Look at my LinkedIn. You'll be able to find out what company I work for, though I will not state it. Record that. Thank you. So what you're going to realize is that when you go into these meetings, you're going to be sitting around a lot of people that are junior to you. You're going to be sitting around a lot of people that may not have the life experience that you've had. They might say some really weird stuff that you just go, oh, God, But you have to smile, right? White glove service. So family. Family's number one. Have you spoken to your family about your next role? Okay. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. I talked to a couple of folks where they go into corporate security, and then they go, yeah, no. They bounce back in, right? Because it doesn't feel the same. It's not the same thing. Second piece of chapter 1 in the book talks about the company that you want to work for. It's almost as basic as this. If you want to work for a company that is backed by federal laws or federal governance, there's a good chance that you might have to be a little bit more rigid than a company that is in the hospitality industry or in the tech industry. I literally go to work every day with my boat shoes when I was in the office, true story, boat shoes, my boat pants, and my Guayabera shirts because I'm from Florida. There's a lot of damn Cubans where I'm from. Plus, like I said, I'm Brazilian. And that is perfectly okay for a regional leader in charge of North America where I work to go into work that way. Not okay if you're into federal-based businesses. Banks, Department of Energy is another one of those. Pharmaceuticals is another one. It's quite different on those companies. You have to wear kind of like a suit. I'm guessing you cannot go to work in your boat shoes, right? Okay. Correct. I had a feeling. So I can. And we had a common shirt day where we literally all wear like T-shirts, and we talk and we take pictures as we were like twinning. It's called twinning, where I work, where we all. Okay. Anyways, may I tell you, we get paid extremely well. But all right. So if you know thyself, to thyself be true. If you know that you're rigid. If you know that you like straight policies, procedures, federal governance, then you might want to think about companies that are driven in that kind of way. Because there's a good chance you're going to fail if you come to the tech industry. You got to be as loose as you can. Man, you go to the tech industry, get ready. Get ready. Has anybody ever heard of Club Lido ever before? Club Lido? Anyone? Atlanta, from the East Coast. I know Club Lido. Happens to be an adult dance place where people dance, mostly females. There are people at my job, because it is artistic, they could come to work with a Club Lido shirt with a naked lady, shorts and sandals, and that's perfectly okay because it's art, because it was signed by the artist. Imagine that in any of the federal-backed companies. You showing up with something like that. So that's how comfortable you have to be in order to get into something like that. So think about that. It's a heck of a lot of fun, right? Now, if you like to welcome everybody, I do. If anybody ever goes to the Bay Area, please call me. I'll give you my phone number. Contact me. Come to my bar. I probably have about 38, 39 bourbon bottles. I'm a big rum guy because I'm from Florida. Sometimes I think I'm a pirate. I have a pirate flag in the back of my pool. When I put that flag up, you better be speaking pirate the entire time. And that's when all the rums come out, right? Arr. All right. If you like to host people like I do, the hospitality industry is amazing. And you have a great opportunity within the hospitality industry. I think there's like a Cedar Fair company here that there's a park here, I think, close to here, right? There's a lot of great stuff here. The sports industry is like that, right? You got to be a host. Though the sports industry is a little weird because they're backed by MLB. MLB is kind of like run by a little bit of the government, if anybody followed any of the anti-doping / whatever. So you kind of have to wear a suit and tie again. So you got to be careful with that. But if you go work at the hotels, if you go work at the parks, if you go work at something like that, it's a little more relaxed. Tech industry, anywhere around, a little more relaxed. Know thyself and to thyself be true. Because you don't want to fail at your opportunities when they come to you. Okay? So those are some of the things that you... Now, there's plenty of free testing out there. Has anybody ever taken those personality tests that you do online? Yeah. In this book, there's like, I put up 15 of them. And a lot of them are free. And the reason why you want to take them, so you know who the hell you are. It sounds weird. The reason why I say that is because when you become a cop, you hang out with cops, you only do things with cops, you only eat dinner with cops. I might be wrong, and that's okay if I am. I told you guys in the beginning, and you're more than welcome to talk to me afterwards. Make sure you buy me a beer when you do, though. But that's what happens. When we get around cops, that's all we do. I was at my lowest when I stopped being a full-time cop, and I decided to go back to Disney, where I was getting paid a heck of a lot more. I was getting paid $36,193 a year to be a deputy sheriff in Florida. I went back to Disney, started at $58,000. I didn't have to do shit but to buy somebody an extra ice cream. Think about that. Right? Think about that. So, to thyself be true. Figure out who you are, because when you only hang out with cops and everything else, and that's no longer your life, it hurts. And for the people that have stepped out, you know exactly what I mean. There's this hole that fulfills your heart, and it sucks for a couple of years until you change who you are. And that's a very precarious time, because now you're working for a corporation that may not really understand you like your buddies and your squad members and everybody else understood you. So for those first couple of years, precarious time. Know thyself, and to thyself be true, right? And the third, know thyself is the third most important thing. So I started with this chapter, and the reason for that is because that, I believe, is one of the most important things of people that are trying to transition. If you don't know who you are, where you want to go, the companies you want to work for, if you haven't spent the time calling anybody from those companies, if you haven't spent the time today shaking hands and hugging babies with all these companies that are here, you are failing yourself. We don't do this as law enforcement officers. The beauty about it is that every single person here loves to help other people. There's not one person you're going to meet in this room that don't want to help you. So as you came in, I could clearly see the different police departments and who has worked with each other. Because even within Minnesota St. Paul, there are cliques. Once again, I might be wrong. And that is perfectly fine. You can come and talk to me afterwards, buy me a beer. Today, what you should be doing is looking at somebody in the face that you've never met and shake their hands and hug some babies, because that person might be retiring within a year. You might be retiring within 3 years. And guess who that person possibly may hire or remember when they have a resume across that desk? It's you, because you were nice, you were a good human being. You came to them, you said hi. You wanted to find out about their lives, their kids, their wives, and everything else. And you cared about them for a second, which a lot of people don't today. So step out of your comfort zone. Everything in the corporate world, sadly as it may be, it's who you know. And if anybody tells you otherwise, I'd love to meet them. Because what you have in your background is a good 10, 15%. But the person that's going to get you through the door, which I always say, that you should have somebody inside that company that can put that resume in for you. And if you have somebody inside that company that can put that resume in for you, you're 50% in. Does anybody remember there's a time they said your resume will get you in the interview room? Anybody remember that? It used to be like a saying back in the days. Today, hell no, we won't go. You can't even get into the building. So you have to have a mole inside of that building that can get you through all of the AI systems, the artificial intelligence systems, that connects words with the job description and poops you out. And then when you get somebody saying 24 to 48 hours, a nice email saying thanks but no thanks, that's what happened. I promise you, nobody looked at your resume. We only spend 10 to 15 seconds looking at resumes, by the way.
I just want to give you, will you touch more on that, right? Because that was a fascinating Rubik's Cube to me during my transition, right? Because I wasn't getting the replies, and I was throwing my resume out there everywhere, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I met with a resume service, and she said, well, how are you scoring on the ATS? I said, what? First of all, she had explained to me what that was, and then it was very clear to me why I was performing so poorly.
Yep, absolutely. So here's the key. And I might go in and out of chapters as ideas come up. So I truly apologize, and I'm sorry. I'm just going with it. Nobody told me to do anything. Just show up today and say some stuff. So here I am. All right. So it's interesting that you said that, because 100%. How many people are applying today or thinking about applying within a year? Next week, next month? You guys should be applying somewhere else, right? By show of fingers, let's do fingers. How many resumes do you have? The people that raised their hand. You got 1, 2 resumes. 1, 4. Mr. Porras. Oh, man, I remember that last name. That's sure. I think it was 2. Okay. Yeah, that's sad. That's not enough. So since he brought it up, I'll tell you how it works. Job description. When you look at a job description as a corporation, HR asks me to put together a job description, a JD. What is this person going to be doing? Me, in charge of North America, I said, well, I need somebody that can do these things. And I start thinking about it. I get with my team. My team tells me a little bit of what I think about, what I need. I talk to some of the other folks. What is it that you do? And I create a job description. Those are my needs. So when you see a job description from now on, that's the company's needs. That's what they need. You are their answer. You're it. Now, it doesn't matter if 100% of that job description, it's not exactly what you did, but what I want you to do, and here's an easy exercise that I do all the time. I want you to take each bullet point in that job description, and I want you to write 2 stories by hand. I know it's, by the way, getting a corporate job is not easy. It's not easy for anyone. Every time somebody applies for my company, I literally receive anywhere between 250 to 500 resumes. I'm not trying to discourage you, because now you have an inside guy, right? You met me. I'm your mole. Okay, you met guys here. Moles. You got moles everywhere. Think of them as moles. That's it. You can use them. No, I'm kidding. All right, so you're going to take your resume. You're going to look at the job description. You're going to take the bullet points from the job description. You're going to write a couple stories that kind of mirror those job descriptions, because I'm going to be asking you questions based on that job description. And I want you to tell me stories in where those bullet points worked for you somewhere in your life. I just need you to tell me stories. I don't need you directly to tell me what you did when you were a cop. So I get a lot of cops tell me, well, I don't remember doing that. And I says, you ever have a job prior to being a cop? Great. Do you know anybody that's ever been in any other business that ever told you a story? Yeah, create a freaking story. Do something that matches, because we all know that you can do it. We all know that we can do it. In the corporate world, you're learning a lot on the spot. Don't let anybody fool you. A lot of you're getting in there and you're like, holy shit, okay. And you go home with homework. If you think they used to work 12-hour shifts, you're going to still work 12-hour shifts when you go to the corporate world. All right? So you take every single one of those job descriptions, and every single resume that you put in according to that job description has to be based on that job description, which sucks. So what I used to do, and my suggestion to you, is to do your resume, whoever that is, Carlos Francisco. I update my resume in November 2021. Carlos Francisco, November 2021. And I will put the first 3 letters of the company that I applied for. They didn't know exactly what it was. I kind of knew. They don't really care, because they're not looking at what the title of the attachment that's on there. They just see Carlos Francisco resume. And it goes into a computer system that reads it anyways, right? So you're going to need a heck of a lot of resumes, because you have to be able to speak to my needs as a company. The one-size-fits-all resumes may only work with somebody that you know would hire you without a resume. Okay? Does that kind of answer a little bit? It's a whole lot of words on that, but you know, that's kind of how that goes. So any questions so far? Now I'm really opening a lot of questions. If you got questions, this is a great time to do it. You're getting me live, so. Orlando, my hometown. What's up? What's up, O-Town?
I'm good.
Yeah, good.
Question is a hiring manager,
Yeah.
right? And being an ally for people in this room today.
Yep.
How do we work with, say, our talent acquisition people to understand, right, or be empathetic for people coming out of law enforcement? I usually get, hey, 23 people applied, I interviewed 6, you're only going to get 2, and then you're like, what happened to the rest, right? So what would you recommend for us to tell the talent acquisitions team? How do we become a better ally?
So if you want to become a better ally, you have to tell exactly the 23-year-old that just got out of high school in an HR degree, that is the first-time recruiter, that has never seen a cop, has never dealt with anybody in a criminal justice degree or industry, has never dealt with anybody in the military. You have to tell them exactly what they need to hear. So as a hiring manager, you have to tell them almost to the T. I need somebody that is very good in extremely difficult situations where they have to deal with multiple people at different times in different status of life, You know, law enforcement are great at those. If you see any of those, let me know. And then you start breaking it down further. And then you always end with something like that. You know, military are great at those because they're dealing with bazillions of dollars of budgets, right? By the way, if you're in law enforcement right now, you get into a budget assistance line of field. I highly suggest you take that as a side gig just to help out whoever does budgets. It's huge in my world. So I have a $112 million budget that I manage. So do that. Learn how to do that because it's extremely important. So, and then you can talk about it whenever they talk about budgets. Okay? Does that work? So you have to guide them in the direction that you want them to go?
It does. It does. But most of those people in TNA would say, hey, I don't understand the box, right? Does that make sense? Right? When you're coming from a corporate environment and looking at people that might not be as open when you're asking them questions, might not know how to answer the question. When you sit there and say, hey, how did you affect D&I in your department? People are like, what?
Diversity and inclusion.
I think Orlando makes a critical point, though, right? And I've seen that, too, in the different companies that I've been with, where you've got that 23 to 25-year-old, limited life experience. Now they've formulated opinions on cops based on the news cycle, or they've participated in some of the social unrest, right? And you're trying to be an advocate that this is the talent set I'm looking for. How do I get it?
You have to tell them exactly what you want.
The one thing I would add is you're never going to win with talent recruiters because they're constantly changing over. They're always 25 years old. They're always
That too, by the way. They're never the same people. They're never the same people.
One thing that you can do is, and I don't get 500 resumes, I get 30 resumes, but I ask to see them all. And it's just that simple request that show me all the resumes that are coming in, and I can help them do the phone screen. But if you get 500,
No, but that's not bad because I still, out of the 500, we'll get, for the first preliminary round, we'll get a good 50 sent to us because of the volume that we're getting. And honestly, I spent about 10 to 15 seconds, I'll go right to you there, sir. I spent 10 to 15 seconds looking at resumes. And I kind of know what you want. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a little biased. Tell everybody here right now, if your resume doesn't talk about customer service, community policing, if it doesn't talk about your approach in law enforcement being softer than SWAT, kick down doors, guns, 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 range professional with the red shirt all day, every day, there's a good chance that they're killing a pig somewhere in the back of this room. Damn. So, but I can direct, and out of those resumes, I can continue that because now it's up to me. It's up to me on the next 10 that I do a phone interview, and it's up to me the next 5. And in the industry I come from, if you've ever been through a tech industry interview, anybody here's ever been through a tech industry interview? You been?
Yeah.
How was it the last, man, I don't want to get personal, but did you get to the last part where they bring you and it's like a round robin of one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other? 6. Good. AWS, Amazon Web Services, 8 30-minute interviews in a row that I finally had to ask one of the people and say, hey, well, please allow me to use the bathroom. I got the job, by the way. It's like, wow, that's nice. Nobody ever asks us. It's like, holy shit, man. I've been here for freaking 4 hours answering all your questions. I got to pee. I wanted to pee 3 hours ago when this shit started. Anyways, it's tiring.
It is. Well, you have the assessment first, then you have the actual technical.
Yeah, and you have 6 people, one after the other, after the other, after the other. It's worse than, law enforcement shit, man. I remember sitting in front of like 5 dudes, asking me a lot of questions that I'm like, I'm going to be as honest as I can without being honest as I can. Nah, I'm kidding, Chief. Relax, man. Relax. All right. So, sir, yes.
I was going to say in line with that, though, as far as the other 99% of the people in the room, is you want to advocate for law enforcement, but law enforcement's got to advocate for itself by writing resumes that don't say you're law enforcement. Don't write in there, like you said, about all your
Paramedic investigator. I looked at the job description.
Look at that, the job description.
Yep.
And change everything on there, like you were talking about project management, you did project management, you did all that stuff that fits in the corporate realm, but put it in their speak.
Interesting enough, I talk about the STAR method of interviewing, which is great. If you're ever going to interview anywhere, learn the STAR method. And one of the stories that I tell in the book about the STAR method is a budget move that I had to make while managing the vehicles. And leases were coming in and out, and I had to make a decision financially on how we were going to go. And that was the STAR method, which was a project management based story, which is it's in the book. So quite interesting that you say that. But that's the thing, that pig, I'm telling you. So,
Where are SWAT guys?
yeah, kick down doors, guns. So, and it's to say, continuing that phase, I've interviewed a bunch of great cops. I interviewed a colonel, an Army colonel the other day, and I mentioned, actually not the other day, shit, I wrote this book like last year, so my wife, she hates it. It's a Jersey thing. The other day, I was, she's like, that was like 2 years ago. Anyways, her name is Joanna. She's a wonderful little Jewish lady. She's incredible. Anyways, so I interviewed a guy one time, and he's telling me, yeah, man, I was in charge of the 26th whatever, fighting force of this and that, of the 30th of whatever. I love this shit out of military folks, man. I do. But I literally stopped the interview and I go, hey, man, I'm your first phone interview. You got to get past me. Do yourself a favor. What does that mean to me? So let's talk about how many people did you assist or help in moving up within your battalion? How many people did you keep safe throughout exercises and everything else that you did? How much was your budget within that battalion? Now, I know that the government budget is way exploded. I'm going to cut that shit by 50%, make my own math, and I'm like, that's probably what he had. But those things, and I told him, I said, I don't know what your language, what you're saying. So one of the things that I cover on the book as well is that we use a heck of a lot of acronyms. We use a heck of a lot of our own jargon that we talk about because you're using the same resume that you use when you put in to go be a LT or something, or captain. Like, shit ain't going to work. I had a 7-page resume one time from a LEO, and he literally took everything that he ever did in his career. I think he literally went to the office. Hey, can I get all my files, please? And literally took, and he put it all in this. I just told you, I spent 10 to 15 seconds looking at a resume. I promise you that a 7-pager, when I saw the PDF file was 7 pages, and it forbids me to call him. I want to call him. I do this shit for free. I talk to people for free. I want to call him and be like, hey, man, the hell were you? Who did you sit with? There's a guy, Colby, that's been in a couple of my podcasts. Great guy, Colby Goodman. I make no money off of the guy, so call him. He's great at those things. The only reason why I like Colby is because he took somebody that was a coroner for LA County, and she was a web investigator for Facebook. A coroner, web investigator for Facebook. Shit you not. So I literally, she told me this. I called Colby myself. How the hell did you do that, dude? That is pretty good. Good buddy of mine now. So Colby Goodman, he's a couple of, actually I just put a podcast out last night. He was the only guy, one of only 2 guys I've invited twice back on the podcast. Resume is extremely important. Sorry, I went super long on that. Any other questions? Good question. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. We do, as law enforcement folks, have to make a little bit of an effort. A little bit of an effort to not be so cops. I talked about building connections. So, building connections, I'm going to go back to it real quick. There's this thing called Facebook. There's this thing called LinkedIn. I already said if you're not on LinkedIn, you're making a huge mistake. That's how these guys contacted me. How easy was it? It was like a couple of messages, and I said, oh, shit, yeah. Actually, it was my wife that replied. My wife is Carla's, probably in your first or second reply. So I told you that. Yeah. So, it's like a copy and paste of some other one. Sorry, once again. Anyways. So, LinkedIn is probably the place where you want to go meet everybody and build connections. There's no easier time today because we're all working from home, a lot of us in the corporate world, than for you to connect through LinkedIn. If you're afraid to just say, hey, I saw that you work for this company, love to borrow 30 minutes of your time just to chat, you're going to get a reply. It might not be the first one, second one, but most folks that I work with, you're going to get a reply. I promise you. Okay? If you have something to connect them with, if they happen to have worked in your prior department or something close, or you did an exercise with them, or federal, or you're on the Fed side, or whatever it is, if you served in the military prior to being a cop and all this other stuff, and they happen to be in the military, that's great. I heard you shouldn't make fun of Air Force guys because they sleep in hotels, and then Army folks are so just be careful with that kind of stuff. But you should definitely make whatever excuse that you possibly can to make that connection. Because that's your future mole if, on chapter 1, when you vetted the company and you vetted yourself, you would be a good fit for. Right? So build connections. I swear to God, if you don't get at least 3 to 5 people's name here before you leave here today, from just saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, and you all got this nice little name tag. Thank you. It's beautiful. I got my picture on it, by the way, which is nice. Y'all don't have your picture on it. Ha. Anyways, so make sure you do that. Whatever you do, these people that are here today could be your future, the future folks that are hiring you. Important things. Within chapter 2, I break down 2 or 3 things, if I remember this correctly. Here we go. If you're on the road today and you're going to corporations, I want you to treat whoever you deal with in that corporation with the utmost respect, white glove service. Treat them as well as you possibly can. It doesn't matter how much they treat you like shit. It doesn't matter what they say, how they do it. You have to really do a big swallow. Bring the best community relations representative that you have inside of you, white glove service, and you treat them well. Because in a lot of corporations in the security world, facilities is actually securities under facilities. So there's a good chance that the person that's hiring you might be in facilities. There's a good chance that security manager today, I had this thought, this is a personal thought, this means nothing in the room, that is a flashlight cop. My own personal thought, my own biases when I was younger, okay? You don't know their background. You don't know where they came from. One of the biggest things that I used to say at the Walt Disney Company, and probably one of the reasons why I became, I believe, a decent leader that I am today, is because everybody that I led at the Walt Disney Company retired from somewhere and moved down to Florida and started working for the Walt Disney Company because they wanted to get away from their wives or husbands. They're like, I'm tired of this retirement shit. I am going to go and work for Disney. So I had a 1-star general, captain of NYPD on 9/11. When 9/11 happened, I had lieutenant colonels. You pick. I had an E9 master. Oh my God, sergeant major. Thank you, sergeant major. Who said that? Winner. I owe you a beer. Thanks for saving me. So I had to learn right away that this 30-year-old punk that grew up in Orlando, Florida, had some background, but I clearly didn't have the background that these folks did. And it took me about a year or two to realize with my boss at the time, Ricky Ricks, he wrote on the book. He's the retired sheriff of Seminole County. Undersheriff of Seminole County. I don't want to oversell him. Undersheriff of Seminole County told me, he's like, hey, you got to go talk to Larry because you suck. I was like, God damn, man, I didn't know I suck. I'm afraid, boss. You know why I sucked? Because I was scared. Because I had everybody around me that was so much better than me, and I was 30 years old, and I was the youngest security manager ever hired by the Walt Disney Company, and I was freaking scared. I was afraid to be humble. I was afraid to be vulnerable. I was afraid to do all these things. And it wasn't until my boss told me, you got to talk to Larry. No, Sergeant Major. E9, thank you. Nah, I take that beer back now, man. No, I'm kidding. Okay. I'm kidding. And he literally told me, he goes, hey, man, listen, you got to remember, these guys here, they know their shit. All right, so going back to what I was saying, you don't know who you're talking to in every single one of these corporations. So be the nicest you are, because when it's time for you to retire, your resume is going to come across their desk. They might be the person that you'll be able to ask for the position or the job, or ask them for a 30-minute coffee or lunch. We all like to share our information. Invite people out for breakfast. Invite people out for lunches. Invite people out for whatever. I don't care what you do. Invite them out. You know, and I know getting a free coffee or a free lunch as a cop is like a big no-no. At least it was in Florida. All right? I get it. It's perfectly okay. But it's not a big no-no that I know of for you to buy a coffee to a director of a company that you possibly may want to work for. And you just want to sit down and have a coffee with them. I might be wrong. You have to think about those things. The second thing is, if you're about to retire, you know somebody that's going to retire right now, and you are the worst person to work with in the office, you might want to change your attitude. You might want to take the next 3 years to really be a good boy and a good girl. Because if they leave and you're the D-bag, then nobody ever wanted to work. Everybody's had this. Anybody ever worked in a squad where you're dealing with some shit and you got it down? Mike, you and I are working on Bill. And we got it down. Bill's cool now, right? And here comes Jeff. Sorry, Jeff. You're going to be the bad guy. You're going to be the bad guy. All of a sudden, Jeff shows up, right? Calls in. He's on the call with you, right? Tells dispatch, hey, put me on that call. I'm on. As soon as he gets in there, you're like, shit, we had it. It was good. It was good until I showed up. And then, you might turn around and be like, hey, no, please. Yeah, go ahead. I'm like, no, you got it, bro. Have a good day. And, you're out, right? Back 10-8, as we say in Florida. Right? Don't be that guy or that girl. Don't do that. The next 3 years, you don't know who's retiring and who's going to be able to hire you in the future. Be the nicest human being you possibly can be, because those people are going to hire you in the future. Pretty easy, right? It's not a hard concept. It's a neat concept, because these are your closest friends right here. And friends hire friends. God, I was just telling somebody, the Secret Service are the best, by the way, keeping it in the family. They call it keeping it in the family. Secret Service are amazing. Every time I meet a Secret Service guy, how'd you get the gig? Oh, this Secret Service guy. It's like, oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. I should have known. NBA, if you go to NBA, Major League Soccer, any of those, it's like, no, please don't tell me who you are. Prior Secret Service. Got it. Yeah. Got it. They're the best. But you know why? They keep it in the family. They take care of each other. So think about this group and what you've gone through the past freaking 2 years. Take care of each other. Don't be afraid to do that. It's perfectly fine. All right? But I also don't want to hire somebody that don't know shit. And it's really going to mess up my program. So get educated. In which, holy crap, there's a lot of educating stuff. I'm just winging it here. You let me know when, buddy. So time to learn. That's funny. Chapter 3, time to learn. I knew I was going there somewhere. I was going to get there by today, tomorrow, or the next day. Let me skip negotiations, resume. All right, time to learn. Here we go. Oh, please do.
I just recently got a job in the corporate world.
Yes.
After a year and a half after retirement. And yes, I lived. And like, okay, maybe I should try for a real job. And anyway, so what I was surprised at, which you commented about, was the fact that they didn't really care what was on the resume. They're like, you're an investigator. We know that. But they were really focused on what kind of person I was, like you just mentioned, and how you got along in their work culture. And that was more important
Wait, was he involved? Were you involved back there? You listened. You listened to her issues. No, yeah, no. Hey, FBI.
But anyways, I just say that where I thought, I didn't even have that on my resume, and maybe I should have. And it was something that we looked at, because they didn't really care what I invested in. It was all about more of what kind of a person I was, how I got along with people. They're like, we know you can invest. We don't care about that.
I agree.
And that was, you mentioned several things, but I just had that example happen a few months ago, so yeah,
It's fresh. So here's an interesting thing. I'll interview a lot of people. And time to learn. It's a chapter in the book, Time to Learn. Law enforcement, I mentioned this before and I'll keep on mentioning. Law enforcement is not the same thing as corporate security, if that's where you want to go. If you don't want to stay in this field, that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. My best bud, Adam Wills, runs an internet building company. He builds websites and everything else. He was a prior chief sheriff of, somewhere in like Iowa or something like that. Anyways, that was his passion. He realized that he really liked building websites. So he runs a website called LEO to CEO, because he wants for people to understand that you don't have to go just to corporate security. You have to do what you're passionate about. More importantly, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, I'm glad I remembered, if you're 5 years in, 10 years in, 15 years in, why not just retire? When you get to 2025, why not just retire? My sister is married to a Marine, enlisted Marine. He's an E8 now. And every time I go to Parris Island, where he was as a drill sergeant, I used to show up to Parris Island, and he would have the latest, newest truck. And I was working in corporate at the time, and I'd say, wow, man, it's a beautiful truck, it's a great truck. Oh, yeah, and he would tell me that's a little bit higher than that guy's truck. That was also an E5. And I said, well, that's really interesting. That's your buddy we were just talking to earlier. He's an E5, right? Doesn't he make the same money you make? What are you guys competing with the Joneses here? And my sister used to hate that I used to say, I got an idea for you guys. Instead of trying to compete with everybody that makes the same exact amount of money as you, save your goddamn money so after 20, 25 years you can retire. What I learned from law enforcement is that we don't do it directly that way. My point of view, once again, if you want to fight about it later, over a beer, it's perfect. But we kind of do the same thing to ourselves. Somebody has a jet ski, now you just go to Polaris, outdoor vehicles, if you need a 4x4, a quad or something like that. Yeah. But when somebody has a toy, everybody wants to have a toy. Why not just retire? So if you're 5, 10, 15 years, why not just stop all that madness and just retire when you can? That's just a thought and an idea. Because when I speak to military folks, and a lot of them are like 5 years in, so they're like E4s or something like that, E3s sometimes, depending on how well they did in their lives. But I tell them right away, look, I can talk about all this shit, but here's an idea. Retire, move somewhere nice and go spend time with your freaking family so you don't have to work again. All right, so that's the thought. But here it is, time to learn. I'm going to go on a bunch of tangents. Sorry about that. So time to learn. Here it is. Law enforcement is not the same as corporate security. That is the God-honest truth. There are some things that are the same, but the way you investigate is not the same. The way you do access control is not the same. The way you do intrusion detection systems, IDS, not the same. The way that you do cameras and camera systems, right? 30 frames per second, 10 megapixels. Depending on the direction that it's facing, is the sun, east, west. Not the same. Understanding the relationship in between a contracted worker and a full-time employee. Not the same. understanding that the people that probably work for you, a contract guard force company, a lot of times, it's not the same as when they work for you directly. When you're a sergeant, lieutenant, corporal, whatever the ranks are within your police department or sheriff's office, or special agents, or all of the feds. All right? They're all of the feds. I'll just cover that. They're not the same. Understanding your contractual obligation with your third-party security vendors, not the same. And the relationship in between co-employment, not the same. Policies and procedures are not laws set by the feds, the state, your local county, or city ordinances. Not the same. Policies and procedures are not the same as some kind of international treaty that you may have. When you work for a police department or something like that, there's a good chance that you have one direct boss. That could be the chief, the sheriff. And at the mercy of the state I came from in Florida, you're at the mercy of that human being. In the corporal world, the process is like you have 100 different human beings. They all have something to say. They're all different and everything else. So the HR approach of corporate security is quite different than the HR approach in the law enforcement world. Okay. There's about 100 million other things that I could say. If you've never worked with governance, if you've never worked with post orders that are based on a policy that was written because Joe shot somebody and he shouldn't have, and now you're in the corporate world where the policy is like, just don't touch anybody because I don't want to go to court. Your job in the corporate world is to keep me out of the lawyer's office. It's that simple. So as much as we want to say they are the same, they are not the same. When you sit in a room, there's no ranks on anyone's lapels. You don't know who they are other than the relationship you have built. And that's key. Because as I mentioned earlier, you may be sitting next to a 25-year-old that graduated from Harvard, as I do, that has multiple PhDs, as I do, and I have to listen to this 25-year-old tell me about geopolitical issues in Russia that I never thought about because I was a cop in Seminole County, Florida. I clearly don't know or care to say that I understand the geopolitical issues of what's going on in Ukraine. Can anybody in this room can? And if you can, which there are some folks that do, because I sat in rooms, Department of State folks are the best. They love to use the word geopolitical. If you ever interview a Department of State person, Department of State is like geopolitical this, geopolitical that, geopolitical. I'm like, bro, you're going to be the site security manager of that building in Menlo Park. I clearly don't want or care about what the geopolitical issue in Afghanistan is. But I thank you for that, all right? Be careful how you're interviewing too, okay? Because if you come off that way, guys like me will be like, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, God.
Hey, Carlos,
Yeah.
can you take that back to, you
Yeah.
touched earlier on doing due diligence and look at, doing some background on companies that you want to apply for, or that you're interested in working for. Do you suggest informational interviews, or what kind of a vehicle to kind of vet some of that out, right? Because you're absolutely right. There's companies where things may move at a glacial pace, right? It may be a difficult transition. I didn't hook on with my bridge job very long. I ended up being there maybe 5 months and went to another company that I really thought coming out of government, I'm going to learn the speed of business. I will tell you what, depending on what government sector or department you came from, in many regards, we moved a lot faster in the police work than some companies, has been my experience.
Yeah.
Talk about that due diligence part, how you would vet that out, and maybe understand the environment that you're getting into.
So you give me a couple ideas out of that. The part of creating relationships, the good thing about that is that when you tell that person that put in your resume, hey, shit, I got an opportunity to interview. It's going to be with so-and-so. guess what that person is going to do? Going to go contact so-and-so and go, hey, so-and-so, incredible human being. I just put in my 2 cents, worked with them, know them, great human being, great, hire them. All right? So that's another plus of making contacts inside of the companies, because I will literally not only put your resume in, but I will also contact the hiring manager and let them know that I put your resume in, that this person is incredible. Some companies do move at the speed of light. There's a company that shall remain nameless that I possibly might work for that says move fast and break things. We move extremely fast on everything that we do because we want to be the first one of coming out with something to say that we did it. There's this meta something that goes after the word meta that this company is doing that it's like one of those things. You put it out there first. And then you break things, fix it, break things, fix it. So some companies are really, really fast. What I realized is that some of the older school companies that are not past 1990s tech boom, are a lot slower in making decisions. They're a lot more methodical. They're a lot more old school. Their HR approach is very different too. And you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful with that when you go, but that's part of learning where you're going and doing your background and due diligence on the companies that you want to work for. You know, the Walt Disney Company it started in 1955, really, and our HR and the way we did things, the way we approach things, very old school. I was just in Kansas City last week talking to some folks at Kansas City Police Department, and the beauty about it was that they're like, "Oh, dude, you want to see Walt's Main Street?" I'm like, "Shit, yeah, I want to see Walt's Main Street." And sure enough, we were in Walt's town where he grew up, and you could see Main Street, USA. And I'm like, "Holy shit, this is where he got his idea from." Huh, there you go. Very old school. They take things very slow. And so it's a little bit different on those things. I don't know if that really rounds out your answer at all or what you were mentioning, but.
Yeah, I guess just from my experience, I would encourage you that, you know, if you are interested in a company, develop that relationship with somebody that you can have that honest conversation with, right? Beyond the fluff that you may get from the recruiter, but dig into the culture that you're going to get into. It's critical. And, you know, I think we're all in a different position in our lives, in our professional careers, where you want that next step to be strategic and calculated, right? And have that honest conversation. What is the culture like? And most of my questions, really from my companies that I've been with, have focused around that. What is culture? I want to wake up in the morning and look forward. Come on.
Yeah.
If you got a cesspool, I want no part of it. I avoid it like the plague. So that's what I wanted at some of those companies, was to get that unvarnished view.
That's true. In the book, I have probably about 50 questions that you should be asking when you interview. Not only because you should be asking, but you're going to come off really intelligent. And not because I wrote them. It's because when I had somebody ask me that wanted to be a global security area manager, and they asked me, one, does the culture of your company really enjoys security? Are they security forward? I said, that's a good question. I thought you were going to ask me when my next interview was going to be or something like that, you know? When they talk about, does my budget, how's my budget defined? Is this something that I have to fight for? Or is this something that you have to fight for, Bill, as the interviewer? Or is it something that we together work on? Because I want to make sure that we're prepared for the coming quarters. It's like, God damn, this person's freaking smart as fuck. God damn. All right? So there's like 50 damn questions in the book. There are based in that we never ask because, by the way, an interview is a relationship. You have to get through your freaking mind that you're not interviewing to go be a cop. Okay? You have to get through your mind that is a relationship. That's a meet and greet. It's like you go on your first date with a gal or guy or gal, guy, or whatever. And you want to find out, is it compatible? That's how it is. And when they say at the end, do you have any questions for me? If you don't come up with about 3 or 4 questions that are specific to that relationship, if it's just all about you, You know, what's the next round's going to look like? How much will I get paid? You know? Does anybody know how to answer the question, how much do you want to get paid? Does anybody know how to answer that question?
I did market research and I pulled tax returns from a company, so I knew like what the person who had previously held the position was making based off of their returns, and I also knew what the executives that were going to be above me that were making, and so I knew the rough. So I broke it down from, okay, this is where you've been in the past. This is the value that I bring. This is why I think I'm worth this amount. And then we had that, and then it was a negotiating process. We had 2 or 3 conversations talking about that.
Yeah.
We ended up leveraging more vacation time as a result because that was easier for them
To pay you in that way on the back end.
to go above what they had.
Or stocks. Sometimes they'd be like, yeah, we'll just give you more stocks. By the way, if you go in the tech industry, you get stocks right away. A lot of people that come from this industry, like, what the shit, stocks? All right, so you get stocks right away. That's a good answer, especially if they're publicly traded. If they're not, you're shit out of luck, right? So what you have to say is something to the effect of, look, you know your market. I'm sure you've done your due diligence, and you understand what the position is worth. Now, I am willing to come in at that market rate, and I'm sure you're willing to hire me at the same. Ultimately, I just want to show you what the hell I can do. Woo! Put me in, coach, and let's get this party going. I wouldn't do the put me in, coach part, but something to that effect, all right? Because if you say, I want $100,000, it's like, and the position pays $150,000, they're going to say, shit, man, I damn interview somebody that's probably 2 steps below than what I need to be interviewing. And it happens.
The problem is, right, like, it's usually like in the screening process, so you're going to get asked in your phone interviews up front, what is your range, like, where are you at? And they're going to want to try and have that conversation ahead of time because they're going to try and screen you out if you give up that number too early in the process and it's not within their range for what they were looking for. The balance is it's rare for them to post what their range is in posting for the job.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Absolutely. I still wouldn't answer it.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, you do what you got to do. If I have a relationship with that recruiter, then I'll tell him. You know, and I usually lie, by the way. I'm a liar.
That's
I
one of the
lied.
questions that we get a lot, right, in the informational interviews that any of us on the corporate side that have already transitioned will get that question a lot
Yep.
because it's counterintuitive, right, from the world you came from, where you're part of a bargaining group, you sign a contract, usually a year after it expired. But it's a different world, right? So 8 years. Understanding a compensation package is more than salary, right? And total compensation, as Justin said, you're looking at days off, you're looking at stocks, you're looking at your
Bonuses.
bonuses
Twice a year.
right?
Bonuses, where I come from.
And that they expect
Twice a year.
right? That was something that, you know, when they explained to me that I thought the offer I got was, all right, that's what you value my skill set at.
Yep.
I'll take it. And they said you didn't count it. And I said,
You always do. That's a negotiation. If you would have read my book, there's a part of negotiation. That's damn it. All right. So I'm just going to give you a list of things that you have to learn so I can close the learning part out. Okay, cool? All right, here's a list. Mission of the company, leadership and physical security. How do they do it? Risk audits, questionnaires. What is our risk? A lot of times, especially in the military, the standard of security is set by either NISPOM, which you should read about NISPOM and learn about NISPOM if you ever come from the military world, or NERCSIP if you come from Department of Energy or something like that. Learn about NERCSIP and their security features. That's very important as well. So what happens is that a lot of people come into the corporate world and they think that they have to use NISPOM and NERCSIP for an office space in Altoona, Iowa. And we're all like, where's the risk? Why are we spending $200,000? Remember, it's a corporation. It's all about money, right? So, understanding the difference between risk audit questionnaire. Minimum standards of build. What is your minimum standard you're willing to deal with? I'm talking about as simple as the key lock that you use, all the way to the access control systems, the camera systems, where they should be placed, where you want them placed, everything from the intrusion detection systems, how you're going to use them. Or you're going to use a microwave style intrusion detection, or you're going to use a pressure style intrusion detection, or you're going to use IR beams style of intrusion detections. You have to learn all these things. SEPTET, crime prevention through environmental design. Please. Trust me about this. You know, if you interview with me, I'll probably ask you. Lighting and locks, doors, access control, CCTV. Oh, God, so many things. Policies. Why do we need to do this? Procedures. How do we do this? Guidelines. What guardrails can be dictated by the company while still leaving room for discretionary approaches? There are guidelines. Especially the company that I work for, there are policies and there are definitely procedures. But I am telling you right now, everybody in my company are doctors. Everybody in my company makes mid, except security, by the way. Let's bring that back. Except us. But they make low, mid, and higher six figures. To try to explain to someone that is from India, China, Russia, any other country in the world where policies and procedures are, and try to get them to understand that you must follow them, and then you have an HR that is not like the old internal folks in the cop side, quite different, that are like, well, you know, but that wasn't that bad. Little Billy, he didn't know any better. You know? It's very difficult. So, guidelines. You have to learn about that relationship. Post orders. Post orders are very different in our world than it is in your world. Let me see. Protocols, right? How do we remedy? Briefings, trainings, audits. Audits of everything. Create an entire audit package for your corporate security business is huge. Then we have guard force contract, real estate contract. We talked about colos. What I do today, I lead a team for data centers for my company. Data centers started probably around 2010 as big buildings. Back in the days, used to be that one office space with that one access control that only the IT person could go into. It's like a nice little room. Today, one of the buildings of the company that I work for happens to be the size of the Empire State Building. And in one fence line, I will have up to 24 of Empire State Buildings in one fence line that holds everybody's data on every single application, on everything that we do from money transfers. A lot of people don't know that you can transfer money within the apps. Okay, just like Venmo. So I got to deal with PCI, learn about PCI, learn about ISO 27001, ISO 27002. There's a lot of things that are different from one or the other. Don't be afraid to get out there and learn these things. Get a Security Plus certificate on the CyberSec side or InfoSec, CyberSec side. So a lot of those things, it's all in here, by the way. Yeah.
We're 2 over on our structured
Private.
conversation. You are more than welcome to stay.
Yep.
I think they're going to be bringing in some tabs, so don't leave before they do that. But open it up to Q&A, and really, we want Q&A to be a discussion, right? It doesn't need to be stuff directed up this way. There's a lot of folks in the room that have already made that transition. Jump in. We'd rather have it be a discussion and get value out of it. Rich.
Tony, I got something. Be prepared. I don't know if you asked this question. Is this a retirement job? And how long you plan on being here? Maybe if you're put in 25, 30 years at your police department and you're looking at retiring, be prepared to answer that question.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm looking for a retirement job, you're done. But, we probably should be honest too. We ask that all the time.
That's a great call.
Great one.
Hey, Rich, if I may, how old were you when you transitioned out? Okay, so I will share with you, and as legal as it is, they shared it with me, the insight flexible with it. If an opportunity presents itself, are you prepared to seize it, right? And I will tell you, that opportunity is out there, and it's worth giving it serious consideration. I think to Richard's point, there are a lot of companies out there that they're asking that, right? If this is just a retirement gig, and we know guys who transitioned out, and then they leave that company, you go, well, why did you leave? What was too much labor? That it wasn't what they were looking for, right? They wanted that post job.
Yep. It's definitely not retirement. That's what I said. There's a couple of years when you step in, there's like this ramp up of learning that you have to do, because what you do, you find yourself going into meetings, they're like, what the hell are they saying? I never heard of that jargon. And you start like writing shit down so you can go and ask people later. You can go home and like look up on whatever the wiki within your company and see what you can find. It's a heck of a lot of work in the beginning. So you're right. It's definitely not a retirement gig. I'll tell you what's a retirement gig. A greeter, though. A greeter at Walt Disney World saying hi to people that come in. That's a retirement gig. So think about that. But in this world, let me just close out one thing. So I know we're running out of time. Again, I was winging it. It is not easy. It is not easy. For those that are trying to transition, it is almost a part-time job. But you have to stick with it. And the best way that you can better your odds is by really looking at the job description and creating a resume that fits that. If you go with a one-size-fits-all and you start applying for positions that you have absolutely no clue about, you're going to fail. So focus on what you're good at, what you're passionate at. Go find those kinds of jobs. Look at the job descriptions. Put your resume, set it up to win, and then apply only for those. Only for those. I interview executive protection all the time for the executive protection team. And I get a lot of law enforcement resumes. None of them ever worked executive protection as it is needed to work with a Mark Zuckerberg. But there's a good chance you can operate extremely well in difficult situations. There's a good chance that you can lead a bunch of awesome people. And there's a good chance that you're a pretty good investigator. So focus on those things. And if you have done executive protection work, as I worked with the two folks from Kansas City Police Department last week, then yeah, absolutely. Look at your strengths and don't waste your time on things that you're just applying for no reason at all. Focus. Focus. And anybody in this room, you can call me anytime. I'll give you 30 minutes of my time for free. I never charge anybody for anything. All right? It just has to work with my work schedule, and I'll tell you more about it. And if you want to stay longer and you want to find out how much people get paid in the corporate world, I will tell you. So hang out, because I get that all the time.
Carlos is plugged into our LE2PS private page on LinkedIn. You can hit him up there. He's been gracious enough to share his contact information with us. Hey, leverage the network that's in the room, too. You know, and appreciate the value of it, right? You got people in the room that make hiring decisions. It's huge if you are applying with Orlando at Best Buy, and Rich knows you from Sleep Number, and you call Orlando and put a good word in for you. That's huge. And I think that's what this group is for. Hopefully, as we all get to know each other, as we evolve this group, you're taking those calls. You're recognizing, hey, that's an LEPS call. I'm taking it. That's a priority. Get back to them, right? If they send you an email or a phone call. But I think you've got the commitment from everyone that already has transitioned, that we want to light paths and we want to help however we're able to. Leverage that however you can.
I was just going to add two things. If you think you're leaving law enforcement to get away from the political correctness, don't kid yourself. And I say that in all sincerity, and all the corporate guys chuckle, because I'll tell you, it's sometimes worse. I'll just say that.
Well, it goes back to what we had asked Carlos to dive into even a little bit deeper. He gets into it in the book, but that corporate setting is different, right? I said the fuck a lot in my law enforcement career. I don't know as much on the corporate. It doesn't go over itself, right? So yeah, know your company that you're working for. Is it conservative? Is it liberal, right? I will tell you my experience at Cargill was much different with day in, day out politics in your face and the social justice stuff than my experience has been at Polaris. That's just my personal.
Which is quite different in the largest app in the world.
The other thing I would just add too, and take this away, think about it for our next meeting. What's the skill that you bring to the corporate sector? And if you can't articulate that, because being a cop is a job, and so many of us, and I was so guilty of this too, being a cop is part of your persona. I mean, that's who you were, but it's a job. And if you can't articulate the skill that you bring, and there's a million different skills in this room, and there's fantastic skills in this room, but you've got to be able to stand there in front of a hiring manager and say, here's what I bring to you, and why I'm going to add value to your organization. Just having cop on your resume is not enough.
And sometimes it's just as simple as talking that out, right? You guys all possess skills that are valuable in the corporate sector, no doubt in my mind. Articulating those, that was something that I was slow to come to. It was something that Kevin and I talked a lot about at our lunch, right? Is, hey, here's a role I'm interested in the different disciplines. So we intend these meetings to be building blocks. Joel and May will build off of the foundation that Carlos has laid out. We're going to kind of get a local perspective, right? And look at those different disciplines. You know, there's everything from executive protection, which is a different animal than physical security, than investigations, than crisis management. So know that the network's there. Again, leverage it to your advantage. That's the beauty of having you guys engaged. We're incredibly blessed that we've got the engagement.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get some value.
I forgot about that too. Emergency management, like the ICS 100, 700 kind of stuff, and NIMS, right? I mean, that's huge. And a lot of companies are building those teams today because it was not a normal thing for a lot of the corporate sides. So that's something that we are actually very good at, right? After 9/11, shit, we learned that pretty quick.
And in
But,
that area, there's a ton of free training out there.
Oh, EMI.
FEMA.
Just go EMI.
You can do now to position yourself well.
Emergency Management Institute, EMI. Totally free stuff to add on.
So you can get your emergency management certificate.
Yeah.
Free basically through Homeland Security.
Absolutely. And critical, oh my God. You just got Texas. I have my certificate from Texas A&M on critical infrastructure security. You know, I mean, they're all free. Every time, like, do you guys have a fusion center here? Fusion center? Every time they put out a class, I'd be like, put me in, coach. I'm in. As a matter of fact, right now, if you're really thinking about leaving, Chief, well, you're leaving too, Chief, sorry. So if you're thinking about leaving like the next 3 or 4 years or whatever the case may be, every freaking class that they come up, like, I'm in. Put me in. Use the department to gain all your knowledge because you're going to need it. Fine. Yeah.
Yeah, all great points. I think I was able to hire 3 folks into leadership roles, lower level leadership roles. They came from law enforcement. One thing I did see is something that I had a struggle with too is positive intent. Right? I think in your law enforcement career, you will run into people that are always trying to scam you or lie to you or bullshit you. You know, and then I see these leaders reach back out to me and like, what's that email? Why are they questioning me? You're like, they're just collaborating with you. They don't understand what you mean, right, from the security. Educate them, right? I think that's one thing. And the other thing too is something that a lot of people struggle with too is what we don't teach in law enforcement is it's okay to fail. It's very difficult to tell younger folks that, you know, I had the opportunity to bring some folks in and tell them it's okay to fail. And we always teach that if you go to the academy, you cannot fail, right? You're the person with the gun in the room, you can't fail. And to break that is very difficult. So be okay with understanding that you might be in a vulnerable position that I failed, okay, but you know, how do I make it better?
I think you got into that.
Damn, Orlando.
But yeah, that
Yes.
is critical, right? Because it's counterintuitive to law enforcement.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable and say, this looks a practice. I don't know.
So that's the key.
They want you to know.
Yeah, the key is being vulnerable and being okay with being vulnerable because, you know, a lot of times in the cop world, it's like it's laws. And you go, well, you broke this law. Black and white kind of thing, right? It's always gray depending on how you're feeling that day, but whatever. Black and white. And that's it. And you're going to do what I tell you to do. In the corporate world, there's nothing worse than you get your head engineer that you know for a fact that makes about $6.5 million a year ask you, hey, I'm really confused. When I walked through the front entrance, the security guard stopped me and had a conversation with me. And I don't know if he was trying to assess me, but I just don't have time for that. Because data folks are looking at every second of every time. The reason why we have free food, the reason why we have free everything. If anybody ever comes to my side of town, please let me give you a tour. You're going to freak the hell out. It's all because of time. So he literally mathematically gave me how much it took for him to stop, for that officer to be the best customer service representative that we had in the company, to ask him how his day was going. He said, well, nobody's ever done that to me before. And that cost the company, it was like $20-something thousand. Right? He did the math, and he puts it out. So I'm just confused, and exactly what you said, is that normal? Because I've never had it before. And they're like, doctor, whatever. He was just trying to be nice. As a matter of fact, he's one of the best that we have. And was he smiling? Well, he was. But I've never had it before. Do you guys do it at every single lobby? Well, you think we should? Well, I mean, it was nice. Do you think we should, Doc? Yes. Then why just send me that goddamn email? But you can't say that. You can't say that because in his mind, though he was going to work 14, 18, they have beds, by the way, where I work. They have nappy time. They have nappy. You can take nappy time where I work. All right? They have showers, swimming pools, weightlifting, aerobics rooms, whatever the hell you want. Welcome to Silicon Valley. Anybody watch Silicon Valley on HBO? You got to watch. It is the truth. But I had to be like, oh, but you think it's a positive thing? Yes, a positive thing. All right, do you mind then if we continue doing it? Well, if everybody does it, then it's not the standard. Then it's the same everywhere. I go, perfect. We'll try to do our best, sir. I think the standard should be everywhere, and you're right. Yes, I am right. Okay, we'll get that. It's like, fuck, goddamn, I'll have to get to the word right, But you're right. But you have to be that freaking patient. You have to be that patient. You have to really change your mind to something that is quite different. Quite different, than what y'all know or knew. It's so different. It just is.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'm going to be here literally till I think tomorrow. My flight leaves tomorrow, but I'm going to hang out, have some beers still. I'm open to questions, whatever you guys want. If you do it now, at least we can discuss it. But if not, I'm okay with the individual stuff. Yeah.
Not to sell you a book, but I haven't read it yet. But I did interview for the job that Dick over here got.
Yeah. It's your middle name. It's your middle name.
Sorry, Mr.
No, it's your middle name. You didn't know that.
But when it was for a security-based job, security leader, and they were asking questions right off the bat that, okay, you come from the police environment, doesn't matter what the fuck you did, it doesn't translate when they start asking questions in their context. And, using the terms that you were talking about in your list of questions.
Yeah.
Like all those questions that you were throwing out, I'm like, yep, yeah, I heard that. I had to come off the cuff to
I ask him a lot.
throw that out, but yeah.
What I'll do, so the first interview is called a technical interview. It's the first interview. And sadly, I get asked a lot of times to be in the yeah. All right, there you go. He's no longer a dick, okay? He's just a small Richard now. So, but on the technical, which is usually the first thing is a phone interview, right? The recruiter sits down, talks to you, and I covered that in the book as well. A recruiter will call you and say, hey, let's set up a phone interview with me. The recruiter's job is to make sure to that 23-year-old, you got to remember this, just got out of college, right? Just got out of college, he or she don't know shit about the world. What they do like is nice people. Just think about that. So all they're trying to figure out is, will you fit the culture? Will you fit the culture? Do you speak well? Do you? And I covered that on the book as well. Know thyself. Like if you suck at presentations, like you're afraid to do this, shit. Get ready, right? A lot of people know my big boss, Nick. We hang out. It's like you got to present all day, right? What the hell is Ukraine doing today? I don't know. I'm not a geopolitical leader, sir. All right. So the first interview usually is a phone interview to get a sense of who you are and can you fit within the company. Don't be rigid. Be nice. Be polite. Say nice things. Don't use big words. These are college kids that a lot of them graduated while COVID was going on, so they probably cheated their entire way anyways. So just be nice. Now, the second interview is usually a technical interview. And a lot of times I get asked to do the technical interviews. And the reason why I get asked to do the technical interviews, and the main reason why literally chapter 10 all the way to chapter 15 in that book is that because I know what I have to deal with. I know what intrusion detection systems I use. I know what key systems I use. I asked somebody, you know what key system? Oh yeah, hell yeah. So we have this log, and you ask for key number 22, and and then you sign out right here, right? Well, in the corporate world, that is not a key system. All right, so I'll ask them about key systems. Tell me about access control systems you worked with. Tell me about camera systems you work with. And sometimes they'll say, oh, yeah, you know, I like Bosch. Well, what do you like about it? I love it when they just say, I like Bosch. Because they're not using the STAR system. Because if you were to use the STAR system, you would say, I like Bosch. I was asked to do this one with the system that is a Bosch system. The reason that my job was to do this. This is how we did it. And this was the response that came out of what I had to do. That's the STAR method. Because then I no longer have to ask you about anything else. Because you know your stuff. Yeah.
You're talking about a specific area of global security. I got to imagine that sounds pretty intimidating to everyone here. Know a lot about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of other aspects of security other than that.
So I hear you. I hear you. You're gonna have to buy me a beer because we're gonna have to discuss this one. So if you want to work executive protection in my company that I work for today, you better know camera systems. You better understand how they're wired in a home. You better understand how they're saved within the system. You better understand what the pixelity of the cameras look like. You better understand the rates per second in those cameras. Because as an EP specialist in my company, you are watching not only the one person you're supposed to watch, but you are also leading an entire team that manages the entire system of the house. So you are not wrong. You're not wrong. If you want to be just an EP traveler, that's the other side. The EP traveler will only travel. Their job, 100%, is to travel with all the CEOs, CFOs. If you have a C next to your name, you get somebody that hangs out with you all day, every day. Your job is to protect them anywhere they go all over the world. Those jobs are that big. And most of the people that get those jobs are Secret Service folks, folks that have a connection locally, or folks that we have hired to fulfill the position of securing the house first. They have a connection with the team, and they know that they can count on them to travel wherever they go. So I agree and I disagree. It all depends on each way. I am a corporate security manager for physical security. I have contract guard force. I have the contract. I have standards. I have policies and procedures. I have post orders. I have everything. The most important piece of a data center and where I work today is access control. If you don't know anything about access control, that makes it difficult. There's nothing wrong with you going to Linnell, Secure on their website and learning. Watch a couple of videos. Pull it up on YouTube. Just so if I ask you, what do you know about access control? You might say, well, it's funny, I was just looking over Linnell. It's really interesting how you're able to connect doors. And it's really based on the people or the rooms. Depends which way you guys do. What do you do? Well, that's funny you said that. We happen to do rooms. Wow, okay, that's good. All right, next question. I don't need to go any further than that. And that's what the book covers. The book doesn't cover every single detail like you're saying. But you may be asked, what do you know about a reader that's on the door? You're not a security system specialist, and I hope you're not applying for a security system specialist job, because I'm not. I came from physical security. I did not come from, but the job today and where it's going, you better know a little bit about security systems. Because the manpower thing that we all can easily do, and I agree with a lot of people in the room here that told me, you know, I manage a team of 15. I manage a team of 20. Okay? In the corporate world, I manage 0. I manage 0 officers. 0. If you look at my chart underneath me, I have about 1,400 officers. I manage 0. What I manage are policy, procedures, standards of build, minimum standards, quality standards of my data centers, which covers access control systems, camera systems, intrusion detection system, and the contract that upholds these 1,400 officers. I do not manage, I manage literally 2 people per data center, or lead, 2 people per data center. So the power that I have in leading people is very little. But I better understand how my policy dictates the room that I made available for you to go into. Because if you do not need to be inside of a data hall where all the drives are and people's data are, I want to make sure you don't get in there. So you're right. You don't have to know everything. But you need to know a little bit about a little bit. So when you get asked a question, you know a little bit about it. Because the future of security is less people. The security industry today, I don't know if you guys have noticed that, and I talk about it often when I have meetings, you cannot find good security officers. We were never able to find that to begin with. But today, because of COVID-19, nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work. So the security industry is failing every single day in trying to find security folks. So technology is coming in to fulfill those needs for security officers that you can't find. Everything from better camera systems, PTZs, intrusion detection systems connected to the cameras, to where cameras just move along with any intrusion, right? Real easy stuff. Genetech is a great company that does a good job of that. So more and more and more, we're starting to have a smaller team that goes to what the camera sees than multiple teams observing the fence line. So the less and less and less we're managing people, the more and more and more we're learning about technology.
And I was just going to add, so next meeting, and John, to your question, we're going to talk about the broader spectrum of global security in all the different facets, to include physical security, but also to include crisis management, executive protection, intelligence, the investigations. So there's a lot of different areas within a security organization. In a tech company, if you don't know tech, don't apply. I mean, it really is.
But we do have those, Joe. We do have those. And to answer your question even better, because thank you for reminding me of all that, we do have those. And I think I said it earlier, investigations, we have those. You don't have to know anything about technology. But if you're going to do investigations in our world, you better come in with a background of understanding what the dark web is. because it's just not enough. Or SQL, SQL. Because we have to investigate regardless, still within our apps. So yes, there's investigative jobs. There's investigative jobs where we're only looking for porn. You don't need to know anything else other than you know what porn is. Pretty simple.
Jeff's doing that
Yeah. So there are plenty of jobs. There are plenty of jobs that do those kinds of things. Plenty of jobs. You just got to find the one that fits you. Fits your background and what you know.
One last thing, and let's break into a social.
Let me tell y'all out there a little story, man, and it goes a little something like